Our last event on our Castrol program, and the men lining up on the dummy grid for the Bathurst Centenary race, which will be run conjointly with the Australian 500cc Grand Prix. And one of the favourites for that event is this man here from Queensland, number 7, Michael Dowson. Drafted to the Toshiba Yamaha dealer team, and there one of the veterans, Malcolm Campbell, on bike number 3, with Honda team manager Clyde Wolfenden. Mixed in amongst this field, incidentally, there's also some 250s which can participate in the 500cc part of the Grand Prix. And there is Greg Pretty on bike number 64. Stuart Vant on the Heron Honeycomb Suzuki. 64 Pretty. Number 3 is Malcolm Campbell on the VF 1000 Superbike Honda, which will be running in the Bathurst Centenary race. And the field now moves away from the line on their warm-up and exploratory lap around the 6.172 kilometres of the Mount Panorama course. Motorcycle racing taking place here just once a year. They practice on Thursday, on Friday, they race on Saturday and Sunday, and the racing is mind-bendingly spectacular. The man having trouble there at the moment on bike number 8, I think, is Peter Hinton, and his machine being pushed away from the line. It's loaded up and they'll hopefully fire it up for the start of the event. But Stuart Vant, the international who's come out here this weekend on the Heron Suzuki, will be one rider to watch very closely. Tony Hinton will be riding a 500cc machine, one of the old Toshiba Yamaha dealer team bikes. John Pace is out there on the Trevor Flood RGB 500, and John Pace, I'm sure, will put in a pretty hot performance. Indications are that Michael Dowson, as we look here at Jeff McNaughton on bike number 4, the 250 Honda, could be very, very fast on this slightly aging TZ750, which is owned by the Pittman boys from South Australia. But nevertheless, it's a motorcycle with enormous horsepower, and Dowson, having ridden so well in last year's Swan Insurance Series, I'm quite sure can put the machine to very good use. 9 500cc bikes are lining up for the 500 part of the Australian Grand Prix, together with 250s. And then there are those bikes running in the Bathurst Centenary race, which sees machines up to 1,000 cc's. Of those machines, there can be super bikes, improved touring machines, prototype motorcycles, and in fact, I think this is going to be a very, very interesting confrontation. Certainly, one would have to say that it would be far more entertaining, not only for the riders, but for the enormous crowd that's built up here this weekend than was last year's Australian 500cc Grand Prix. So they've just come down now from underneath the Hardy Bridge, and we'll grid up on the starting line. Greg Pretty rushes up to the line. He'll be on there and ready to do battle pretty quickly. 36 is John Pace. That's the Trevor Flood bike that I spoke about before. 2 is Roger Freeth, Macintosh Suzuki. Winner of yesterday's RI 500, Malcolm Campbell, a former Swan Insurance winner, a former Castrol 6-hour winner. In there is Jeffrey Sale, the winner of this year's Australian 250cc Grand Prix and reigning champion in that class. So there's no shortage of talent. Michael Dowson comes up to the line. 5 in there as well is Norris Farrow from New Zealand, did well in last year's Swan Insurance Series. The tension now starts to build. The revs will rise. National flag in the air and down. Mal Campbell jumps away from the line very cleanly, and the VF 1000 Superbike Honda, being ridden by the 31-year-old Tasmanian, takes the lead at the first turn. Up Mountain Straight for the first time. Campbell. Oh, Greg Pretty, a dreadful start. A terrible start for the South Australian on bike number 64. He's got a lot of work in front, but look at Michael Dowson around the outside of Malcolm Campbell, and it's Dowson on 7. John Pace on the inside in 3rd place. There's Alan Blanco. 43 went through as well, Tony Hinton. Bill Sayers on 16. More people than I can possibly sort out. And right at the back of the field, 64, Greg Pretty. Past the Castrol Sand Trap at McPhillamy, and the man who leads the field at the moment is Michael Dowson on bike number 7. John Pace on 36, tucked in behind him. Malcolm Campbell dropping back to 3rd on the 4-stroke Honda. Look at the Grand Prix machines as they whiz past our vantage point as they wind their way down to Forest Elbow. Stuart Vant goes through. Then I think it may well have been Roger Freeth. Very hard to pick him up in 4th as 66 comes coasting down the mountain. That's Greg Drew on a 350 over the humps. Coming round now to end their first of 15 laps, and Michael Dowson, you can see around about half a second the gap as they come across the start-finish line. There's Malcolm Campbell back in third, Stuart Vant behind him. Indeed it is, should I say, may well be Norris Farrow in actual fact. I was going to say that it was Roger Freeth, but I think it's Norris Farrow who's up there in fifth at the moment, and if that's the case, that's a stunning performance from him. Across the first of the humps in Mountain Straight. Track drops away, it's got a number of undulations on the way up. And the field very much stronger this year than it was last year, and bear in mind, as I said before, 2 races within a race here. Up to the left-hander. Malcolm Campbell, Stuart Vant. There's Farrow. Behind him on 2 is Roger Freeth. Robert Holden in there as well on bike number 1. The gap still seesawing between Dowson and John Pace. And Pace, look at him, absolutely hanging everything out to try and keep touch with the leader. It's all arms and legs from John Pace at the moment. A man who has a lot of experience, being backed by a former Mr. Motocross champion, Trevor Flood from Victoria. Mal Campbell goes through, Stuart Vant still giving him plenty to think about. Robert Holden, then followed by Freeth, then followed by Farrow. Down towards the bottom of the straight again. Speed trap readings coming through on these machines at around about 255, 260 kilometres an hour. And the particularly interesting thing is that it looks like for the first time in a very long while, a TZ750 Yamaha will go around the Mount Panorama course even faster than it did back in 1976, nearly 10 years ago, at the hands of Warren Willing, when he recorded a time of 2 minutes 15.68. Stuart Vant has now got through to third, and Malcolm Campbell back to fourth. Robert Holden on bike number 1, very fast Kiwi. Norris Farrow has come through on 5, and I'm very, very surprised to see Roger Freeth dropping back on bike number 2. We had a glimpse there of Tony Hinton before as well on bike number 43. Now we start to get in amongst some of the 250s. Bill Sayers on 16, Steve Mappison. Also in there was McNaughton. He's pretty working his way through the field after that dreadful start on bike 64. Jeffrey Sale also went through a few moments ago. John Pace, leader of the 500 Brigade at the moment. Behind him, Stuart Vant. Been to Australia on a number of occasions, and at the moment doing battle to try and keep out Malcolm Campbell. There's Freeth, winner of the RI 500. There is Tony Hinton on 43. Alan Blanco here on bike number 11. 30 comes through, and that's Robert Turton. There's Jeffrey Sale on bike number 10, just ahead of Jeff McNaughton, and Greg Pretty still winding his way through the field. McPhillamy. John Pace on 36, still with some gap. And there is the gap to Michael Dowson. And the news comes through that in actual fact, Michael Dowson has gone around quicker on the 750. The new lap record as far as those types of machines is concerned has been set at a time of 2:14.29. And that's quite extraordinary. The outright lap record here for motorcycles is held by Andrew Johnson with a time of 2:13.1 on the RS V3 500cc water-cooled Honda. But that's not bad from the TZ750, which is now, quite frankly, starting to get a little bit long in the tooth compared to some of the machinery out there. Turton goes through from Queensland on 30. Then this enormous scrap for the miners. Look at the mixture of machinery. TZ750s, TZ350s, improved production bikes, a bit of everything out there at the moment as we go back to this confrontation for the lead. The Bathurst Centenary race with the city of Bathurst celebrating its 100th year, and enthusiasts celebrating a magnificent dice at the moment because John Pace has gone through and Michael Dowson now back in second. So the Trevor Flood Racing TZ500 machine now leads the field.
And towards Hill Corner.
Down the left left-hander. See that gap now from second to third, and there is a Bant in third. Malcolm Campbell in fourth on number 3. Oh, the back end of the Honda really starting to carry on a treat. Up to the cut. Dowson again, back in touch, 1.5 bike lengths. And is it Dowson? We can't quite see pace. Yes, Dowson on his own. And Dowson has gone through and lapped Phil Sayers on the 250. That gives you some indication of just how quick these machines are. Well, are we missing John Wood, or has he just dropped back? The ambulance on the course here, so there must be a problem somewhere on the circuit. In fact, there must be somebody in real strife if the ambulance has actually gone out. So the flag's being displayed. You can see the yellow. Yes, there's been a problem at Forest Elbow, I would suggest. Well, the puzzling question is, where on earth is John Pace? The leader at the moment, Dowson. To the best of my ability, I think that he's got it pretty comfortably at the moment, as far as I can pick it. So Dowson on 7. And Dowson goes through and takes a checkered flag. And confirmation comes through for the 500 Grand Prix. The winner, Tony Hinton. Second went to Jeff Sale. And third, surprisingly, on the Honda went to Jeff McNaughton. And for the Bathurst Centenary race, the placings as follows. After 15 laps, Michael Dowson the winner. Second went to Malcolm Campbell. Third to Norris Farrow. The news came through that Pace went down in Forest Elbow and has heard